Alright guys, TacticalRab here again today. Hope you're doing well and enjoying your day so far. Day 1 of Major 3 is over and some crazy storylines coming out here already, mainly regarding this team on screen right now. Not looking at all likely as it stands to repeat their success at this same venue last season. What exactly is going wrong? What changes might be necessary? We'll dive into some questions today because another 3-0 defeat to a team like Boston is certainly not the way they wanted to start their tournament. Very much enjoyed your thoughts in the comments below. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you're new as always, I'd greatly appreciate it. First of all, just quickly to note on the Scump watch party because I caused some drama about that today. So they've got 3 different setups, it seems, within the venue setting. There's this one that Scum and Zinnu at earlier on. Then they went to one kind of behind the scenes for the start of the first series. Then the stream crashed and there were some issues and they had to effectively go home and Scum was doing it on his own. And also to note, which I thought was kind of surprising, that if you're a Challengers player at this tournament, you don't just get access to the venue as well. It's like, I think they pay like $600 or something for these Challenger passes, maybe between the players. You'd have thought they could just get venue access as well as a spectator, but apparently not. So Parasite saying, well, if you want to watch the matches, gather around the flank setup in the Challengers area and watch from there if you're a Challenger player. So that's a bit confusing. And there was also some confusion because I believe OpTic sold these special passes that allow people to watch Scump's watch party in person, but then like it wasn't actually there in person. So, you know, I don't know. Hopefully they can work that out over the weekend is all I'm going to say on that one. The drama began with this man on screen, Standy, of course not playing at this event, but he was pictured next to Scrappy here because they were, well, getting the series ready to go. Standy came up on screen, of course he's not in the team anymore. They dropped him for Hicksy, and they lose game 1 in a remarkable fashion, honestly. Felt kind of bad for Toronto here because it was a ridiculous game 1 hotel finish, and like New York got these insane spawns all across the map, and honestly Toronto predicting them, it wasn't going to happen. Toronto win the game, or Toronto lose the game 1, New York win the game 1, and immediately after this we got this tweet from Standy. Now Standy says that he tweeted this because he was pictured on screen, right? And he was like, oh, I guess they missed me type thing. But I'm pretty sure he tweeted this right as that first map ended, where his replacement Hicksy went almost double negative and didn't have a particularly good map. So, you know, is Standy saying this just because, oh, they missed him because they got the picture up and that was an accident? Or is he saying this because Hicksy had a bad map and they lost game 1? More than likely, you know, you guys can make your own mind up about that. Hicksy, or Standy, sorry, gave his thoughts in the replies, but, you know, the jury's out on whether he, well, what thoughts he gave as a result of this. Now, I'm still waiting for iLLeY's tweet after the OpTic series, but we'll, I guess, have to stay tuned for that one. The series was quite quickly 1-1, though. Toronto managed to tie it up here in the search and destroy, and then Scrappy went off on the main stage here, game 3. Hotel control. Subliners, their control started off the year very well, but it must be said that on an individual level, Priester, we talked so much about Priester at Major 1. This guy was the second coming, right? Okay, he's back in business. Priester, this is finally where he is the last couple of years. In fairness, he had a fair bit of damage this series, and this map specifically, but, you know, 16 and 27, not great. It was Scrappy and CleanX that really took over on the Toronto side, and individually from the same perspective, Skies, Kiz, and Priester, Hydra's still what he was, but those guys aren't quite delivering as consistently in the respawns as they were at the start of the season where they had their success, and at Toronto, for all the online Bell Fiber type stuff, they win this series quite comfortably in the end. They win the game 4, even Subliners tweeted out that Scrappy basically owns them, so, you know, I thought that was pretty interesting, to be honest. And then these are the overall numbers. So Scrappy at 1.16, CleanX though, man, this guy 1.24, and you've got to say, yes, Hicksy drops a 0.8. Hicksy is in love with a 0.8, but it does enable CleanX. Now, you know, if CleanX doesn't go off, then I think they struggle a bit. But Hicksy and CleanX, their playstyles seem to mesh quite well. Hicksy isn't going to drop crazy numbers, but you can tell by his playstyle that, like, I think he meshes better with CleanX than he did with Standy, or CleanX did with Standy, right? And you've got to say it's hilarious that Standy does that tweet, and then the next 3 maps, Toronto just win all of them and they win the series. It's quite remarkable, really. But New York down to losers immediately. Toronto move on in that side of the bracket. The next series was closer than I thought. I thought Surge were going to win this, and honestly, my early call to win this entire tournament is the Seattle Surge. I thought maybe before coming in here that Seattle looked really good online. I think they can do it this tourney, but you know, certainly their bracket is also pretty stacked, so it's far from guaranteed, but I do think Surge have got what it takes, especially because accuracy is now dropping 1.0s, which is obviously rather handy. But in fairness, Los Angeles Guerrillas did well here to tie up the game in the search and destroy. Exceeder was doing well with the sniper rifle and was honestly keeping his team in the game. Eventually, it was 2-1 to Los Angeles Guerrillas after the control, but Surge, when it mattered most, I mean, especially Pred, right, he came up absolutely immense here in, well, first this was the control. I mean, look, it's Fortress control. They were just camping in spawn. Like, I don't even want to discuss this map anymore. I can't be bothered bothered. Finally, we played a decent map mode combination, though Fortress Hardpoint. This works pretty well. And Pred, I mean, look at this from Pred. 1, 2, 3, coming straight out this doorway. Okay, he's in a nice spot, but getting the 3-piece was nice enough. And then just a couple of minutes later, when they're up 136 to 40, he then goes on this streak again, Pred, and just absolute world-starring kid. So this is his map mode combination. This, to me, Fortress Hardpoint is kind of what Bocage Hardpoint was last year for Pred, and also Simp to a degree. Oh my god, like, he got absolutely spat on there. So, I mean, yeah, that was Pred and Simp at their best. They win the hardpoint, they go on to the final search and destroy, they take that down as well and close out the series, and Pred was like, he had another 3-piece here as well. So Pred just decided to take over the final couple of maps of the series, and that was enough. So Los Angeles Guerrillas feel kind of bad in a way, because they looked better than I thought here, to be honest. I mean, coming in, not looking so good lately. Okay, they did pretty well in the qualifiers to even get to winners, but still, Seattle did enough when it mattered, and I still think there's more in the tank for this team. Like, the way they're playing right now, accuracy dropping 1.0s, RC's had a rough series again, but yeah, Pred at 1.4 for the dub. Like, I was going to say that you don't see that every day, but to be honest, you kind of do at the moment. Then, though, we get to the OpTic series. So the Greenwall out in force, ready to go against Boston. One of the theoretically easier first round matches. I said, though, that to me, Boston are a dark horse team. I said that earlier today, and I thought there was a very reasonable chance they won this series. But I thought, honestly, the home crowd buff would be enough for OpTic to go over the line. Wasn't the case at all. Game 1, there were some chances for OpTic, right? It's got to be said, early on in this game, it felt like OpTic had a bit of an advantage. Like, you know, Boston came back into it, and then there were particular situations that ended up getting squandered, and Boston ended up taking the game 1. It's not the end of the world, not ideal, of course, for OpTic, but, you know, could be worse. Again, man, watching these guys play, especially Shotzzy and Huke, it's got to be said. Some of the plays they make, and I've got some examples here in a second, are just remarkable, to be honest. So, look, this is Shotzzy at his best. Gets an ace here in the first round of the Search and Destroy, or the first round that OpTic won of the Search and Destroy. Kills Vivid, kills Beans, goes on to complete the ace. Dashy, a couple of rounds later, clutches a nice little 1v2 as well, and all of a sudden, OpTic looking good. But Boston was still winning rounds, and OpTic went up 4-2 in this, and honestly, this round, I'll just have to share it right here. So Bruce clutches a nice little 1v2, good job from him. But this man, I mean, okay, it's 4-2 at this moment. Huke decides it's a 3 versus 2 for OpTic, so this should be a clear 5-2 advantage for OpTic, and Huke decides, you know what, I'm popping Deddy, I'm going in. And, you know, I guess he gets heard maybe by popping the Deddy, Beans kills him, and then within a few seconds, it's Ghosty that goes down as well, and then Dashy's dead, and then there's this example also where Huke goes in and dies, and, I mean, man, honestly, just watching it is painful at times. And I'm sure OpTic fans feel the very same way, because you just, like, 4v2 advantage, or 4-2 up in the Search and Destroy, 3v2 advantage in the rounds, it just doesn't need to be done, but it is done so consistently, right? And we know this is an issue. We discuss this every series they lose, and even the series they win, it's a clear issue, some of the decision makings in the advantageous spots they find themselves in, and they still can't get it right at their home major in one of the biggest matches they played so far this year. And even as Parasite mentioned on their round 11 play, when they basically just gave up the bombs like completely for free, he reckons they played nervy, played scared basically, which in fairness is what Boston used to do with Zinni. But this time Boston have got the ice now with Beans in the team, and especially because Beans took over the Search and Destroy. This guy was 29 in 22, I think, game 1. He went 17 in 5 game 2. What a series to make, because, okay, Beans, right, and I think Shotzzy actually mentioned on stream, because you remember OpTic Beans, we discussed it, right, when Dashy was gone, we thought, could they get Beans? We didn't really know, and Shotzzy said on stream he hadn't even heard of Beans, and, well, he's certainly heard of Beans now, and the crowd has heard of Beans as well, because a legacy series here for Beans to turn up against the, well, of course, the home crowd team, and to deliver a performance like this, just honestly incredible stuff, especially because he struggled a bit online in his first couple of games, and 17 kills, tied the Search and Destroy record, and honestly, then it went to an Albagra Fortress, or Albagra Control, and that also went in Boston's way. Again, right, it's Albagra Control, and people are going to say, oh, stupid map, it's kind of 50-50, which it is, but obviously OpTic decided to play it, right? They could have decided not to play it, but they did decide to play it, and they go down 3-0. They've now been 3-0'd by Ultra, I think they've been 3-0'd by New York, and now they've been 3-0'd by Boston. That is not particularly pretty, everyone negative. Obviously, everyone looks at the numbers and says, oh, Ghosty 0.9 or whatever, but, you know, the reality is, to me, that there were some specific moments that can be pointed at really in every single map where, you know, certain plays are made that shouldn't have been made, giving advantages up that they had, and a top team just can't afford to do that. And I said it before, right? You can't be consistent playing the way OpTic play. They can win series, they can dominate teams at times, given the talent on the team, but they're never going to be consistent with this playstyle, especially against teams that are well coached, that are well drilled. And I think that everyone is seeing this very clearly nowadays. And Enable even tweets this out. Rambo Ray right now laughs in hidden, right? Because, you know, Rambo's probably sitting there thinking, damn, yeah, you got rid of me. Academy, and look how it's working out for you guys in OpTic right now. Like, honestly, they were more structured with Rambo. And yes, that might not have been good for Dashy's numbers, but when his SMGs are dying again and again, that's also not good for Dashy's numbers in other ways as well. So yeah, pretty crazy situation to me. I don't know what you guys think about this, but yeah, they've just got to have to think about it. Unless they make a crazy losers run, they've got to consider what they do after this tourney. And I know people are blaming Ghosty, right? And even Spark comes in and says that Ghosty's basically a peasant, and because people are saying, oh, you know, he had a 1.3 in challenges, not working out in the Pro League, and, you know, okay, maybe Ghosty isn't as good as we thought, but at the same time, he's in a difficult spot, right? I think Enable also recognized that and said, well, look, Ghosty finds himself, he's set up for failure. What if you guys think that means from Ghosty, or from Enable's perspective, right? Do you think he's just put in a spot where he's always going to get scapegoated, or is it merely the way that OpTic play, being so undisciplined, that Ghosty's always going to struggle to have success? But, I mean, yeah, this series was not pretty at all. And yes, they can make a decent losers run here. I would expect them to, but getting past top 6 is going to be a serious challenge for this OpTic team, especially with the massive inconsistencies that they presently have. Even Awakening was turning the knife as well, saying loudness equalization, clown mode, just because, you know, people said, oh, you know, they're going to fall off Boston because they use the loudness equalization, and obviously you can't use it on LAN, and that they still 3-0. So yeah, I'm sure you're going to have your thoughts on this in the comments below as always, but this was not a good showing from OpTic, and you know, you can argue that this has been coming. And what was I saying to you guys just a few minutes ago about I'm waiting for the iLLeY tweet after this series, and I just refreshed the timeline before I was about to discuss the FaZe versus Thieves series, and what do I see but this tweet from iLLeY where he just says, yo, so, you know, is this mere coincidence that iLLeY happens to tweet this on this particular evening, or is there more going on here that iLLeY is tweeting this shortly after the fact that OpTic just got bodied by Boston? You know, as we say, do they need to bring iLLeY back? I don't know. I'm just going to leave that with you guys, but it's kind of funny because I was mentioning, like, expecting some sort of iLLeY tweet, and it arrives just while I'm recording it. The final series of the day was remarkably fast, and after the way this game 1 went, I thought this was going to be a barn burner game 5 series, absolute banger, because Thieves maybe should have won game 1. Cellium, I know that Scump was talking about him using this kind of wallbang cheesy spot that arguably should be GA's, but Cell made a good play, got a kill that was necessary. Simp almost went massive here at the end. He got this 1-2, almost got the 3rd as well. Didn't happen though, but Cellium was doing enough, 27 in 15 for him to win the game 1. Super tight map, but then they failed to win around for the rest of the series. Thieves just full collapse here, and honestly, in fairness, like, FaZe on LAN are nice. Thieves on LAN are nice, but FaZe on LAN are even nicer right now. They play Embassy, Search and Destroy, and Embassy, no one's really played FaZe on Embassy in some time because they were so good at it about a month or so ago that teams decided, you know what, we're not playing you on it anymore. And clearly Thieves thought they've got something cooking, but they weren't cooking anything because FaZe 6-0'd them in about 5 minutes, and it was absolutely dominant, right? And they were probably thinking, okay, why did they tell us on that? And then they went to a hotel control, and FaZe won that 3-0 as well. I did see Kenny just made a tweet about some like GV bottle bursting or something and like going all over his controller, which is a bit of a disaster, but nonetheless, this was a masterclass from FaZe, and the overall numbers definitely show exactly that. But very much enjoyed your thoughts in the comment section below. Hit the like button if you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new, take care, and I'll see you next time.